The 615th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their Pick 8. Sign up today with promo code MMA SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections, and their college football product is about to drop. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Howdy ho, Degenerinos, and welcome to episode, what are we at? Where's my right tab here? We're at episode 615, and we're off to a fantastic start of the MMA Gambling Podcast and Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Let's give this one up to one of our friends who's not really in the Discord, but he popped in on the weekend. Chad popped in to let us know he still listens to us to fall asleep at night. I guess that's a compliment. It could be an insult as well. And he did actually what we've asked all of you to do, and he snuck onto his wife's device and made her subscribe to our YouTube channel. So, and she hasn't figured it out yet. So that is what we want you all to do. Even if you don't have wives, if you have anyone in your life and you're not a total loser, total loner, even if you are a total loser with no one in your life, then, you know, strangers out in public, you can do it too. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Help us out. Thanks for coming to the show. I am your host, the King of Kung Fu, Jeff Fox, and we are here to cover. It's Tuesday, Monday, which means we got some regional MMA to cover. Today is CFFC 130 something. 133 is actually what it is. I was going to say it's in my co-host neck of the woods, but they've gone down south for this here event. They're in Florida here, so definitely not his neck of the woods. Usually they're around his neck of the woods, I believe. We have covered Cage Fury Fighting Championships in the past, and we're going to do it again today with winning picks because my co-host is really good at picking regional MMA. It would be the one and only Daniel Gumby Vreeland. Hello.
I'm good at picking UFC too. That's just,
it's true. You did really good.
I'm maybe 9-2 this past weekend.
Yeah, back-to-back weekends, you beat me.
Yeah, I was going to change your nickname to Karkara this weekend since you doubted her. And
I did.
She was that good. Yeah, she's really good. That's not what this show's about, but just go ahead and subscribe so that you can get more takes like that. And you can even remove notifications if you go to a public library and somebody's still signed in. Subscribe from their account. Whatever it is, you got to do. And then what else do I have to say? Oh, shout out to you already gave the shout out to Chad, but I want to give the shout out to FP&A too, who followed our regional picks this past Saturday. He had a 4-fight octagon parlay at 7-1 hit. So largely thanks to this podcast. So we want to shout out him too for listening to the regional shows and getting it done. So good weekend last weekend. Looking forward to CFFC, which is it's never really in my neck of the woods. It's like 6 hours away when it is up here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, really? Pennsylvania is not close to
okay, yeah. Who am I thinking of then? Which one is the
CES?
Right, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
CES is like Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. Yeah, so like they're close. No, CFFC is like where ECW used to be. It's in the Hammerstein Ballroom, right? Or something like that. Or
not this week. They're not. They're in Tampa, Florida, the Florida State Fairgrounds. This is CFFC. This is the Friday event, which is good because yesterday we covered, if you haven't listened yet or watched yet or both, we covered what's that thing called? Cage Warriors. Yes, that's what it's called. Cage Warriors in Manchester. We're mad for it, and they're going Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So that's even more fun. So we got Thursday one, we got a Friday one. Are we doing a Saturday one tomorrow? I think we are. Sunday maybe. It might even be a Sunday event we're doing tomorrow. UAE.
I don't know where UAE Warriors is, but maybe we get one for every day of the week.
We may have picks for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week, which is pretty exciting. Before we dive into this one, because people love preamble, we're going to tell you that it's almost college football season. That's one thing people do love. Everyone can agree. Everyone loves college football, at least you people down in the States. And the Sports Gambling Podcast is getting you ready for college football with their conference previews. Tune in wherever you get your podcast or the SGPN app or, of course, YouTube. All right. Let's get to the matter at hand here. CFFC 133, Watley versus Forest. July 26th, as I said, Friday, Tampa, Florida, 9 p.m. Eastern on UFC Fight Pass. We got 13 bouts for you here, all in a cage. Sadly, they're in the cage, not a moat, not a something with a moat around it or anything like, or a pit.
Shipping container, I've seen some on.
Shipping container, yep. Yep. You can count on Russia. Russia knows what's going down when it comes to fighting. We're gonna give you 5 fights that tickle Gumby's fancy, and then there will be some bonus picks at the end. It's called the lightning round, and Gumby will pick through the other 8 fights and then let you know which ones are of most interest to you. No odds have dropped for this one yet. We're probably a few days out from that still. So Dan will give you his best guesstimate on the odds, and then you can act accordingly. And of course, get in the Discord when the odds do drop, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord, and Gumby can let you know if any of the odds are way different than what he said. Then, well, you'll pretty much know what to do based off what Gumby says on this here episode. But you can chat about it in the Discord. Let's jump into the main card, light heavyweights. We didn't talk in advance which fights we're doing. Hopefully, we got the same order here. We'll see. Phillip Latu, United States of America versus Steve MacDonald, Canada. All right. 3 rounds, 105 pounds. MacDonald, 4-1 with 2 knockouts. He's never been finished in a fight. This is his debut in cage. CFFC, we'll say for short. Lost his last fight. Has not won since October 2019 and is a regional champion. Latu is the doctor. 6-1 with 6 knockouts. He's been submitted 1 time, so he knows his rounds, definitely. 2-0 in cage. CFFC, Cage Fury Fighting Championships. 4 straight wins for him. Used to fight up at heavyweight, an inch taller than MacDonald. 0-1 as a pro boxer, 2-1 in kickboxing, and a champion there.
So I think this is going to come in pretty high odds here for Latu. Let's say -300, plus 300 on the return for MacDonald. I think it's got to be that, being that MacDonald's coming off of a loss and, some pretty long layoffs to go along with that. I would say, like if Steve MacDonald comes in fighting like his old self, like the version I've seen way back when, I think I'm still not picking him. First of all, I'm picking Latu in this fight, but I think that value is probably, you want to stay away from Latu. Like if you are trying to get in on Latu at -350, you sort of have to be of the idea that like the layoff is going to be really bad for MacDonald, because MacDonald might even be like a touch more technical on the feet than Latu is. Latu throws freaking bombs though. Like this guy goes for it. He's got kind of fun kicks too, I think sometimes, but like, more importantly, this guy just like swings from the hip every single time he does. It's why he's got 6 knockouts and 6 wins. I also think even if you want to go with like that past version of Steve MacDonald, that more technical version, the version who hasn't been laid off forever, I still worried about his cardio back then. Like as you'd see like a second round come about, especially when somebody pressures and throws big shots, he looks like when he tries to match it, he doesn't have the cardio to go with it. So I think at the end of the day, as long as his number doesn't get too out of control, Latu could possibly be some parlay fuel here. But like, again, I think that handicap has to be mostly rooted in the layoff of MacDonald and either or that, or just your love for Latu's power. Because I don't think, like if you go skill for skill, he is a -350 favorite. You have to sort of trust those other things.
Gumby continues his Canada hate. All right, fine. Latu is the pick. Hope it fails miserably. Let's move on to the next fight. Actually, I fade Canadians quite often myself, so I really can't talk about these things. I have been called a traitor in the Discord. We are going to way down now to flyweights. Gustavo Villamil from the United States. Max Quinones from the United States. 3 5-minute rounds. Quinones is the Candyman. 5-1, 2 knockouts, 1 submission. Never been finished in a fight. 5-1 in CFFC, so all of his fights have been in this promotion. Did win his last fight, 4 inches taller than Villamil. Villamil is Pretty Boy. It's Pretty Boy versus the Candyman. He's 6-2, 1 knockout, 4 submissions. Never been finished in a fight as well. These guys, they owe us some quick finishes. This is his debut in CFFC. He's won 3 straight. Before that, he lost 2 straight. Won his last fight via submission. Is not lost since August of 2021.
So I'm going to say Quinones, big favorite here. A little bit of hype behind him. Pretty nice, shiny looking record. I'll say like -275 plus 250 on the return for Villamil. I'm going to go dog here with Villamil. I think if you watch Max Quinones fight, first of all, he's really tall for flyweight. He's like 5'9". At first, when I saw there was a 4-inch height disadvantage for Villamil, I was like, oh, short king. And like, not even really. Like, he's a normal sized flyweight. He's just not a, whatever Max Quinones is. And the thing about Quinones in the fight, and this is probably what's leading me to the Villamil part, is that like, he is absolutely positive that he is not going to let his opponent start a striking round. Like whenever his opponent looks to throw first, he just takes 4 or 5 steps back and is like, I'm not going to engage in this. You're going to let me throw first, or we're just going to dance for a little while. And it's like that all the time. Then when he does step in and decide to be first, his feet plant and he gets very stationary to the point where he's kind of easy to counter. He's definitely easy to get in on. And I mean, like, that to me is a problem, that he's overly moving in one instance and not moving at all in the other instance. And the biggest problem with that is I think both of them open themselves up to what Villamil does pretty well, which is wrestle. I like his ability to counter punches, which is, something he's going to have to do if he wants to ever throw a strike against Max Quinones. But also, like, if he can just, like, pump out a jab and pretend he's going to start a combination a bunch of times, he's going to get Quinones backing up. And that's when you hit some of those takedowns. And then on top of that, I think if Quinones plants his feet and looks to start a combination himself, the way he plants his feet, I think, is there too for Villamil to duck underneath at least one of the shots, especially on a guy who's 5'9" at flyweight, a guy who's 4 inches taller than him. He should be able to duck underneath one of those shots and get in on his like very planted legs for a takedown. So I think Gustavo Villamil, probably just by grinding out a decision here in sort of, I think to a lot of people, surprising fashion, I think he should be a pretty big underdog here based on the hype behind Quinones. But I think it should be more on Villamil. So give me him as a dog here.
He is a pretty boy, after all. What number were you guessing? Plus,
I guess 250. Because of Quinones's, what is he? Quinones is 5-1. He's
5-1,
like
all in cage fury. Yeah.
Yeah. So like he's home promotion boy.
Yeah.
With like a pretty damn good record. So yeah, I think Villamil's gonna mess up his day a little bit.
All right, take that. All right. Before we move on, Underdog Fantasy. This is good. Another transition right from one dog to another. This is Underdog Fantasy, just launched their college football best ball product. First place wins $20,000. Plus the higher and lower pick 8 allows you an opportunity to win 325 times. I butchered that again. 325 times your entry. You can now use special sub boosts on all flex entries. Do you have any picks for us for Monday, Tuesday? How about Hunter Green? Is he going to strike out more than higher than 6.5 strikeouts against the Braves today?
I'll take the lower than on that, but I'll also take the higher than. Yeah, I'll also take the higher than on Nacho Alvarez's total bases because Ozzy Albies got hurt on Sunday. We're going to get to see the debut of Nacho Alvarez, highly touted prospect for Atlanta. I think he's going to open up his Braves career here with a couple of hits.
Is his nickname Nacho or is his real name Nacho?
Yeah, his real name is Iha Nacho. But so Nacho.
Eat a Nacho? Eat a
yeah,
Nacho.
Eat a Nacho.
Wow, that's fantastic. He's going to strike out he's going to strike out 7 Braves. The Braves strike out a lot.
They do. I mean, they're like a middle of the pack team in terms of strikeouts. Okay. They're like, I think they're 21st in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
Should I try to pick up this Nacho guy on my fantasy team?
I mean, I've seen your fantasy team. They're pretty terrible. So yeah, like pick up anybody.
he is available. I'm going to put him on my watch list. All right. We'll see how Nacho does. As for Underdog Fantasy, Gumby gave you the play. Don't miss your chance to play pick 8. Try it out before it's gone. Sign up with our code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit. Offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN.
And we're also brought to you by Game Time. Look, if you've ever had trouble finding tickets for an event, look, I'm one of those guys. I like to go out to Fenway Park once in a while. And guess what? It's really hard to find good tickets. And if you're not familiar with the stadium, you might even wind up in one of those old stadium seats that's being blocked by a column or something like that. Really hard to see. Well, that's why you got to check out the Game Time app, because Game Time has MLB tickets and other high-profile events in whatever sport you want, including MMA. And They've got such awesome features. My favorite one personally is the fact that you get seat view. So you don't have to worry about being stuck behind one of those columns and paying way too much for it. Plus, they've got all-in pricing. That means you can see how much it's going to cost you. No surprise fees at the checkout. And if you're showing up in Boston, you're like, hey, maybe I want to check out a game, or any city for that matter. You can save up to 60% off by getting last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Plus, you don't have to worry about whether or not the tickets are going to be more or less than you would find on other websites or apps, because Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if they're not the lowest price. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app right now, create an account, and use promo code SGPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Let's see what we get next. This is a lightweight bout. William Rentz from the United States of America versus Gabriel Morales from Venezuela. 3 5-minute rounds. We talk about Morales first. 4-4 with 2 knockouts. He's been knocked out 4 times. Ouch. This is his debut in CFFC. Loss over his last 3. 3-2 over his last 5. Lost his last fight via TKO. I was back in October of 2022. He's not won since July of 2022. Rentz, Iron Will. Rentz, 3-2 with 3 knockouts. He's been knocked out once. All his fights have taken place in CFFC. 2-1 over his last 3, but he did get TKO'd in his last fight.
So I think Rentz will be a favorite here. Again, the being in CFFC for his whole career thing bodes well. Obviously, his record looks a lot better. It probably won't balloon too high because he is coming off a loss. So we'll say like -200 here on Rentz. And I'm going to pick him in this fight. The big thing for me is if you watch Morales, you mentioned he's been knocked out a lot. And it's like really obvious to me the problem he needs to correct to stop getting knocked out. And it's that he backs up. And backs up and backs up and backs up and backs up and backs up, which is, I mean, maybe the theme of this show here, because I just talked about it with Quinones too. But when he backs up, he gets his back up against the cage, and then he kind of flails and tries to like Bart Simpson his way out of Bart Simpson in the hockey episode. Yep. He tries to Bart Simpson his way out of there instead of circling or instead of using his footwork, and that gets you caught a lot, even on the regional scene. And then when you compare what Rentz is doing, I would say if you ask me what's the best part about William Rentz's game, I would tell you pressure. And so we're taking a guy who's gotten himself knocked out a number of times because he can't deal with pressure up against the guy whose best attribute is pressure. I think Rentz is going to be just fine striking with him. But even if he got frustrated with the striking or wasn't landing what he wanted to or got clipped himself, he's also got enough wrestling that I think he gets Morales down and can if he gets clipped on one of those wild strikes, which I don't think is going to happen, I could see him shooting in and surviving that way too. So I've got a lot of faith in Rentz, especially if that number comes in the low 2s. So I'm going to go Iron Will Rentz here.
All right. Iron Will Rentz is the pick here. All right. We are moving to, I don't think we're doing this fight. I think we're skipping that fight. We are. We're moving up to the co-main event. Joel Winters, United States of America. Kaushik Saikumar, probably. Kaushik Saikumar. How close am I?
Kaushik Saikumar.
Kaushik. It's easier than I made it harder than it is. Kaushik Saikumar from India. There you go. Surprise. All right. Not surprise. It's not an American. Saikumar, the pride of Chennai. CHENNAI, which is the area of India, I believe.
I would assume.
That's what we're saying.
Maybe that's
he's 3-0 with 2 knockouts. This is his debut. Won his last fight via TKO. Winters 2-1 with 1 knockout. He's been submitted once. This is his debut as well. He's won 2 straight fights. Won his last fight via TKO. 3 years younger than Saikumar. Have you seen film on these gentlemen? How could you dig stuff up on these?
Yeah, Kaushik Saikumar is a guy who I've known about for a while, not just because of his MMA foray, but also he's a pretty good jiu-jitsu practitioner. You could see him fight no-gi. There's lots of videos out there on his no-gi jiu-jitsu. He's actually a Ryan Hall prodigy.
Okay, yeah.
He trains at 50-50 in, I want to say that's Virginia, that 50-50 BJJ is in. I think he's going to be a favorite based on that pedigree alone, the fact that he's coming there. And then, like, you know, his record's a touch better. I'll also be on record saying I don't think this is the co-main event. I know that that's how Tampa has it listed right now. I actually think this is going to be probably earlier in the night, especially with the records and stuff. And I'm going to go, you know, I don't know if I told you. I think I got Saikumar. What did I write down? -225. You know, for his, you know, grappling chops and the fact that he trains with Brian Hall and all that. I'm going to go with him here. I think Joel Winters is probably much more athletic than he is, but I also think that that might be sort of to his disadvantage here, because if you look at his fights on the regional scene, when he does go for takedowns or he tries to grapple, he muscles a little bit too much. Like he tries to, you know, over under body lock takedowns, which are like low percentage, especially when you start to fight a guy who's as good as jiu-jitsu as Saikumar is. And so like that athleticism has probably stifled his development a little bit. And then with Saikumar, like I just really like his positional jiu-jitsu. You know, obviously if he's Ryan Hall trained, he's got the leg locks, he's got the funky stuff, but he doesn't let that get in the way of him just like doing the right thing a lot. You know, holds positions really well. He moves from one position to the other without giving up, you know, opportunities to get up. So yeah, I like Saikumar in this one. I think I'm not actually sure what I think would happen in a striking match because neither of them seem to care for it. Winners would probably be smart to keep it there, but I don't know that he will. And I like Saikumar better on the mat here. So I'm going to go Kaushik Saikumar here, probably a decent size pick.
All right. Kaushik Saikumar is the pick. More and more Indian fighters are showing up in the regional scene. So maybe we'll see a bunch of the UFC very shortly. All right. Before we go to the main event, excuse me, this one definitely is the main event. I got to tell you about Rhythm. Rhythm had the British Open just happened this past weekend. I had the right pick. I had an American to win, and an American did win. If you missed out, if you didn't check out all the AI picks on Rhythm, they have AI picks and props for the outright winners and for top 5, top 10, top 20, all using their AI caddy and give you some really great data insights. They do have it for golf all around, I think, for pretty much all the major tournaments and WNBA and whatever else is going on now. So, and you can even customize your own golf betting model or whatever sport you're doing using Rhythm's tool. So claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpockets.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpockets.com/RITHMM. And Circus Sports is back with Circus Survivor and Circuit Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. And of course, Circuit contests have no rake. Circuit Millions, you pick 5 NFL teams against the spread each week and compete for $6 million or survive the NFL gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize. Sign up per person at Circus Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with promo code SGP. Don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas yet before football? Ultimate Contest Weekend is a great time to go out. Hang with Ryan and Sean and the bosses and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sportsbook in the world, August 22nd through the 24th. All right, we're on to the Cage Fury FC Lightweight Championship. It is as I said, lightweight fight, 5-minute rounds. The champion has already defended his title once, is Robert Watley, United States. He's the challenger, Morquez, Forrest, United States as well. And that's a kick it off. Forrest is Black Clover, 5-0, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. All his fights are taking place in CFFC, and he is the current interim champ. So this is a unification bout. He's 4 years younger than Watley. Watley, Contact, it's a nickname. 14-3, 5 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been submitted once. 4-0 on Cage Fury Fighting Championship. He is the champion, and he's already successfully defended it once. He's gone 3-0 over his last 3, including 2 submissions among those fights. He's not lost since October 2018. 1-2 in PFL. Was the LFA champion. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Used to fight at featherweight and 2014 pro MMA debut.
So I originally thought Watley being the, I don't want to say legitimate champion, but being the legitimate champion was going to be the favorite here. I'm hearing a lot of noise that Forrest is possibly going to be posted as the favorite here. So I'm going to say, usually when I hear, I feel one way and I hear the other thing, I usually just say this will be a pick 'em then. And it'll probably be pretty close to that. You might see -125 on one side and, plus 100 on the other or something like that. But you're more likely to see these both at -115, -110, depending on the kind of book you're looking at. I'm going to take Watley. I'm going to take the champion here. The reason being for me is that, first of all, I think he's just a little cleaner on the feet. Like, if you watch the way he jabs and puts combinations together, I have a lot more faith in him being able to sort of light up Forrest over rounds and, like, you know, basically make his way through a championship style fight. Whereas Forrest is throwing freaking wide hooks and haymakers and stuff like that. And a lot of the reason why he throws big wide punches and overhands and stuff like that is because he uses them to get to the takedown, right? Like we've seen him throw an overhand right and reach down and grab a takedown from there. And really, that's the other thing about this fight that makes it so interesting and possibly a pick'em is that both of these guys like to wrestle and both of them are pretty damn good at it. The reason I like Watley in that style of fight, if it does wind up, so if it's a striking fight, obviously I like Watley. I just think he's sharper and he's more well suited for a championship fight. If it does wind up being a wrestling match, I like Watley too in kind of twofold. First of all, that aforementioned kind of like cardio championship style fight, I'm not sure Forrest can keep it up for a full fight. And then the second reason why is Forrest, when met with a little bit of resistance to his takedowns, maybe a little bit of trouble, I don't want to say he gives up, but he doesn't push through his takedown so much. Like, if you can see a couple of times, he shot a takedown, gotten on the hips or the legs, and then just a little bit of hip pressure from his opponent is enough to make him not abandon it, but like go up to a high body lock instead of staying down on the legs or instead of switching to a single. And then he pushes them up against the fence, throws a couple of knees, disengages. Whereas like Watley is way more of a guy who's better at either, first of all, just driving through the takedown he got in the first place. And then secondly, being the type of guy who will chain his takedown attempts together, who won't just stick by one takedown. And so for both of those reasons, I think Watley's better suited for a championship fight on the feet, on the mat. And also, I think he's maybe going to deal with the style of Forrest better than vice versa. So give me Robert Watley in this fight.
All right, there you go. Hopefully you pick him, or hopefully a dog, actually, we'll say. All right, let's recap, and then he'll give you some bonus plays for you. He's got Watley. He's got Saikumar. He's got Rentz. He's got Villamil. He's got Latu. All right, not Hungry Man John. Oh, that's UFC.
We'll do that
lightning round, zap, bang, and boom. Do you have any lightning picks for the rest of the fights on this card?
Yeah, there is a Georgian heavyweight making his pro debut on this card, Georgi Kverchishvili, who I've been kind of, Kverchishvili, I've kind of been waiting for him to make his debut, if I'm being honest. I think he was supposed to make it like 3 months ago or 4 months ago. I may have even used him in a lightning round pretty much when our lightning round started, I think. But I like Kverchishvili because, I mean, he's what you would expect from a Georgian heavyweight. He's like a big, stocky guy who's got like, you know, big, high takedowns. If you've watched any of his Yami fights, like I think he's got all the promise there, and they seem to be setting him up with a fight. Although the guy he's fighting is 2-0, but they seem to be setting him up with a guy who probably just can't deal with his style in a debut. So I like him. The other one I'm going to mention, his name is John Arce. He's 3-2 in his pro career, so I think that probably sets him up to possibly be an underdog here. But if you look at the strength of competition he's fought, it is way higher than the average person who you've seen fight at 3-2. He fought Royber Echeverria, who is on Contender Series already. And then the other person he fought was Christian Yasnila. His name starts with a YN. It's really a difficult blend for an American tongue. But he is also like, you know, on the cusp of getting a call to a much bigger show. So he's fought some like really high level guys. He hasn't looked awful doing that. And I think between that and the bad record, you're going to get a really nice number on him. And I think he's probably worth, especially if he's a dog play here.
All right, there you go. You're all set. Okay. We're going to be back tomorrow. Believe it or not, we're going to be back the next day and the next day as well. In the meantime, we shall be in the Discord. We're probably in the Discord as we're recording this as well, to be perfectly honest. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Also, YouTube, you can get to us in the comments there if you choose to. That would be, of course, MMA Gambling Podcast on YouTube. At the very least, subscribe from all your accounts. Make a bunch of not fake accounts. Make a bunch of burner accounts. Subscribe from those as well. That would help us out. Where else can you catch us? Twitter, X, SGPN MMA is where we're at. He's at Gumby Vreeland. I'm a Jeff Fox writer. Check out my Substack. Play my free UFC pick'em that is running for this weekend. That's moneymma.substack.com. Company's got the Top Turtle MMA podcast. He interviews interesting people. Do you know who's on it this week, or is it a surprise?
Yeah, we're back to the Contender Series grind after having a couple of UFC fighters last week. We're talking with Michael Aswell, who's going to be fighting on week 3, and Corinne Laframboise, who is, first of all, super Canadian. She could not be more Canadian if she tried. She's super Canadian, and she is coming back from... I don't know if you remember, she was the one who was supposed to fight on Contender Series 2022. She got pregnant, found out during the fight, had to pull out. Well, she's
wasn't
back.
Mine, okay? Is that what you're getting at? It's not mine, okay? I have enough kids.
The UFC has given her another shot, having been away for 2.5 years since her last fight. And so she's talking about the road back to Contender Series.
Yep. And now she's a mama. She's got the mama power. So check all that out. Top Turtle. Told you about YouTube. Of course, the mothership is sportsgamblingpodcast.com. I have so many articles up there every day. It's insane. Even when I'm on vacation, minimum 3 articles a day I was writing for that, for the site. So check that out. Gumby is on there daily as well, as are a bunch of other talented writers and podcasters and the like, YouTubers. So if you want to dress cool, like all those aforementioned people, it will be sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Check out the whole section for the MMA Gambling Podcast in there. And of course, we have a Patreon to help keep the lights on, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Gumby will bid you farewell until tomorrow.
All right. I'm Daniel Gabriel. He's the Black Clover, Jeff Fox, and we will see you tomorrow.